If you had 30 minutes with your boss where you could ask them any question, what would you ask them? This is the real story with Adam and Sherry. This is Adam Hamalian.
And I'm Sherry Hutchens.
And this is where two broker associates in Contra Costa County talk about all things real estate based on our 35 years combined experience, mainly for our clients, some for our colleagues, and really because we just like hanging out with each other. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, Adam. How's it going?
It's going okay. Trying kind of get back in the business groove after the long weekend.
Yes, we're headed into the second busiest season of the year and followed by the holidays. So looks like summer is at least unofficially over. So what can you tell us about the market this week?
Well, it's really interesting. Some of our work is in Rossmore, and I was at the Rossmore Realtor meeting this morning. And for those of you who don't know, Rossmore is a 55 plus gated community here in Walnut Creek, and they have about 6,000 homes, and they range from the low end of, I think the lowest thing that sold this year was about 200,000 for a studio. And I think we have a new high that one of the agents has coming soon, a $3.7 million home in Rossmore, which is just crazy. Um, I I was surprised to see that something sold just over three a couple weeks ago, and I think this is just capitalizing on that. Hey, let's see if we can get 3.7 for it.
Yeah, the make me sell concept, right?
Yeah, if you could get X price, would you sell your house? I think somebody took that a little literally here. The agent is a very experienced agent, and so I think it's absolutely on her client to say, let's see what we can do.
Well, let's watch that one and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I can't afford it, so I'll watch it is what I'll be doing. We are really excited today because we have a very special guest with us this week. It is our managing broker and the owner of Dudum Real Estate. It is Julie Del Santo. Hi, Julie.
Yay. Hey, Julie.
Hi, Adam and Sherry. Thank you for having me.
We are very excited to have you join us. We've been meaning to invite you to come join us for a while, but we wanted to be a little bit more successful as podcasters before we did it so that we could show off our best podcasting skills for you. You're
You
always
have
so
developed,
encouraging. You're always so encouraging, but I also don't want to, we want to give you our best. So welcome.
I appreciate that. No, you've developed a really, really successful and very cool thing here with the podcast. And even beyond this next statement, you've far succeeded. But even just doing it one time, you're already successful because there's so many who don't take that plunge and just think about it. So already you have perfected it, in my opinion. But with that, yes, you took it a step further. And I've watched a bunch and I laugh and I learn, and it's so good. So thank you. Am I able to say, was I a little bit more nervous doing this than speaking in front of rooms of 4,000 people? Slightly, like this is up close with Sherry and Adam. Hello.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, we ask such hard questions, so.
Yes. Very.
Well, one of the things that we usually do is ask people about how they got into real estate because everybody comes from a different perspective. But before we ask that, we just need to give a little kudos for those people who don't know. Julie was previously an agent, and she was one of the most successful agents in our area. Not only that, but she was a team leader. And she had a very successful team, many of whom are still part of the broader Dudum family. And then at some point, she decided to open a brokerage, and we will ask her all sorts of questions about that. But starting with like, what got you into real estate, and what did you do before that?
Yes. So I have to wear my glasses, but the glare, so we have to put them on my head. I just might not be able to see you. I can hear you. The longer the short version, what did I do before real estate? I was in the news business, and I thought, oh, I'll do real estate maybe later when I retire on the side, because it's a cute little side thing to do, and quickly realized it's not. The long version, the stars aligned. When I was 10, our amazing local area realtor did a coloring contest. And I was very excited with my coloring skills won in that neighborhood coloring contest. And she knocked on the door and took a picture and gave me a gift card. And I was in the newsletter a month later with all the winners, and realized there were 100, everybody won. It was so genius. It was a way in which to knock on the door and connect with my parents, who 15 years later sold with her. And when they sold their house, well, I'll say 10 years later. So as a kid, I'm like, I want to be a realtor. I want to have coloring contests. But what I really liked was connecting with people. She just connects. She had that relationship based. And I knew from that time forward. So when it was time for me to get in and thinking about it, I've had family involved in commercial buildings and always liked it, but didn't know what I wanted to do and had to know it was more than coloring contests. So I called her and said, I'm thinking about this thing, but I'm very superstitious. So I'm not going to tell my parents yet. And I took the courses and I passed the courses. And then I was divided because I was doing great things. I was at KTVU, Channel 2, and I worked the 10 o'clock news as an assignment editor and was enjoying my time there and had some great people who I was working with. Well, one night at the station, it was sweeps week, and sweeps week is ratings week. And you're trying to find the bigger story and and I heard that a big rig fell on the Bay Bridge and fell over the bridge, and ENG4, get out there, and we won't go over there, to realize it was not a big rig falling over the bridge. It was a jackknife truck. So it was a Sal Castaneda traffic story, not a live shot that we can get a big rig floating or, God forbid, somebody dying in the water. We didn't have a good story to lead with, just basic Bay Area news. So driving home that day at 11 p.m., I remember grabbing my pen on the desk and throwing it across the desk like, ugh. And driving home, I said, I got upset that somebody didn't die today. And it was just a perspective of, I loved who I worked with and I loved what I was doing, but the subject matter was starting at an early, I'd been there about 3-4 years, and I interned for 1.5 years and got picked up, and it was starting to get to me to the point that I wanted to do. It is meaningful, but something more meaningful and personal.
Yeah.
So because of the coloring contest in the back of my head, I was also on the way to meet this lady at 11:30 at night to sign papers to rent a little condo up the road, and ended up, when I met with her, she said, there is one for sale next door, $242,000. And I borrowed $7,000 from my brother and did what I could and bought my first condo and said, why don't I do this now? So short story, I was in the news. Long story, it goes since I was 10, and all the stars happened to align that it was a bad news day while I was getting a place, and the place next door came, and the rest is history. That was end of 99, beginning of 2000.
One time when I was early on doing some training, and the trainer said something like, raise your hand if real estate's a second career for you. And everybody did. Like, there's just very few people that try and do it from the beginning. And I think that sometimes those life experiences make you appreciate or be able to connect with people more, because it's more than just, hey, here's a building that you're going to live in, but what are those personal connections? And so I think a little bit of hardship from a previous career is pretty common for a lot of agents. So that's interesting to hear about that, kind of that feeling about the news story, because news is, I think, gone even farther downhill than when you were doing it. And it's just, so yeah, well, I certainly hope that you found more life-giving experiences in real estate than that one night.
Yes, we have a lot better stories and a lot more fun. So we can create our own, I'll say we create our own newscast. And it's about, Tracy, we all know and love a wonderful person in our office named Tracy, our director of operations. She always says it's a service gene. It's a service gene. So there are little things, Adam. You're right. There's, I was a server at our restaurants, family restaurants, for a while, and the service gene developed there. A lot of people, I was in leadership committees and classes, and a lot of great agents were former teachers, lots of great teachers. So it's a gene. There's an understanding of human connection that I'll dive into later if opportunity presents itself, that really you learn from your past experiences, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that was kind of part of my decision process when I changed careers. And I had one of those moments like you did. You said you were upset because nobody died today. I was at my sister's funeral, and someone said, oh yeah, your sister said she never saw you because you work all the time. And I went in and quit my job the next Monday.
Did you really, Sherry? I never knew that about you. I have the chills.
Oh yeah, the next Monday I walked in, and my boss said, "No, nobody quits this job. You're going to work for the competition." It's like, no, I'm really quitting this job. And one of the things that I did was, well, I wanted to be my own boss, my own, help people.
I mean, and these little signs, I think, come across in our life in a lot of different ways along the way, and it's up to us to choose to receive them or not.
Yep.
And if that's not an eye opener at your sister's funeral, and I know your previous life, you were a huge success. And at what point do we define success with who we are, or who we're impacting, and who we're connecting with versus what we have? And yeah.
Well, this is much more life-giving, I think, which is why we do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
There-
about more than a house.
There is a major shift for me in real estate when I've actually believed that I had something that was going to be beneficial to somebody. I think for a while it was like the mechanics of selling real estate, but and those people who listen to the podcast go back and listen to, it's like episode 6 or 7, and I tell kind of my origin story if you're a Marvel comic fan. And I think that we all have something, if you're going to be successful, particularly in real estate, but probably any career, is you've got to have that thing, that moment, that aha moment where it's like, this is where I'm going to make a difference in my clients' lives. And it's more than just the paycheck. And I think that that's even more true now. Um, the current cycle with rules and laws changing. If you don't think that you're making a difference in people's lives, it's hard to slog through all the challenges and changes. And I think that's what separates, I'll say successful agents, but I think, people that get satisfaction from being realtors as opposed to just making an income.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always say the check's a result of our work, not purpose of it. And it is an aha moment for some, because there's a lot who come in to the field saying, oh my God, they see it. There's a stigma, I guess, here comes the realtor and the fancy car so it lures a lot of people. And I hate to say it for the wrong reasons, but the ones who make it a career, and the ones who are successful, and the ones who really day in, day out deal with all of the layers and the forms and the changes gladly and want to know it. Don't just have to, but want to and get to, because they want to deliver more to their clients. They want to deliver a better standard of practice. Then when you get it and you get the why and you get the connection, oh my goodness, it's a game changer in everybody's business. Yeah, for sure. The day you realize that, like you said, I'm sure things just fell right into place.
Yep, absolutely.
So you did sales for 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, so this
And then
is
at what point did you transition from saying, hey, and you want to talk about the team in here, you can, but at what point did you say, I want to open my own brokerage? I mean, we all want to be our own boss, but that's really wanting to be your own boss. And that takes a whole lot of big girl pants, big boy pants to say you're going to be responsible for it all. So tell us a little bit about how that decision came about.
So I think, it was a slight journey because I truly enjoyed selling. I love selling for all the reasons we just spoke of. I don't want to go back and rehash, but that's exactly what it is. The connection and impacting people and making a difference. That, my favorite line is, if you Google realtors are, and the drop down suggested menu is always, not to be trusted, used car salesmen, liars. I want to Google one day. And right now, because of this new change in our industry, it's, realtors are at risk and screwed. And I want to one day Google and have realtors are a trusted resource needed in the transaction, your friend, community member. So I knew there was a bigger purpose. And I have a story with a friend of mine who's a doctor. He goes back into low income parts of different countries and helps and provides shoes for kids. Without shoes, their feet get worms and eats their tummy. And so I was with him in a conversation, and somebody in the conversation is like, there's so many in need. And he looked, he said, one starfish at a time. If you go to ocean and there's all these starfish washed up, how do you get them back in the ocean? Just one at a time. And so with that, and where I'm going with this is to see that on Google. I can't go change the whole industry like that. But if we can, as a whole, work on one thing, one entity, one transaction, one client, one agent, one interaction at a time to make it that much better, it will chip away at that message, I truly believe. So I loved selling because I had a bigger goal. When I served with tables, I loved the disgruntled customer because I wanted them to leave happy. It was my challenge. So I loved selling, and it was a hard transition saying, do I give all that up? And for a bit, I did both, and I still do dabble. I'm not going to lose market share. And there are clients who are like, I only want you. And then there's clients who say, I trust you, and they trust me as well, but I trust you and don't leave me high and dry, stay involved, but maybe partner up, because I'm behind the desk. I'm not the best for them. Sometimes I don't have my legs on the ground is readily available when we need to go and see a house. So the process of partnering up first started, I think, when I got married. It was my wedding day and I was taking a phone call 17 years ago, actually yesterday, the first.
You were.
And I was taking a phone call right about to go down the aisle. I mean, I did this when I was having a kid, that really reinforced it. And it was like time out. And there was someone who attended the wedding who was on my team, and like, give me your phone. I'll give it back to you. And it was my little flip phone. I'll give it back to you in a few hours. I'm like, oh, so there was an aha that, guess what? You have the right people around you. When you have the right people, you can lean on them and you can trust on them, and you should. So it was a culmination of, yes, I loved it. I really did. But where my life was going, and I had to take a vacation, or and I realized this works. And where I could lean at the time was my team. I had created a team, and I'm weird. I believe in the good of the whole. I'm a believer in, collaboration. It's, we work together versus competition. I worked in brokerages where you're shutting your door, or where people would go through the trash can and take the tax roll you're working on, and they'd go knock on that door as their next listing. And I was appalled. I'm like, why do you have to pack your bags at midnight if you're switching brokerages? Be happy for the person. I mean, it's sad, but what we have to do is work together as an industry to change that Google drop, not just we're on our own. And so that's what the reason I developed my team in the beginning. We had so many different walks of life. We had people coming from that you would never imagine, putting this group of people together, and it jived. It was so great. And we could lean on each other and tap into each other, and together strength in numbers. We really could grow more. So when I saw it with my team, and then there were changes in my life, and then I was having kids, I have 4 children, I said, wow, the best part of tapping into this, and the best part of seeing we have a good support, is why can't I take this collaboration over competition and make it bigger? So when I opened the business, opened the company, I said, I'm not, in charge of your successes or your failures, but I'll support you and provide what you need to do it. If you're on, I'm going. If not, and when I went to my last brokerage, I said, you can hire me, but I'm letting you know I'm going to leave in a couple of years to open my own. And the boss at the time said, I know who I am. That's my goal. I really enjoy tapping into people in a different way. And I love selling, but I think I can do more by helping more people sell. And she said, so-and-so and so-and-so have done that in their career, and they're back with me. So we'll see. And then 4 years later, I called and said, it's time now, but I'm not packing my bags at midnight. I have too much integrity and I want to do it differently. So she wrote a mutually endorsing article to me and my new company, and I endorsed her and thanked her for the years and tools. And we harmoniously lived in the same arena as healthy competitors and kind to each other. So that's my story on the transition. Was really about tapping into others and watching them grow. I know I'm going on and on, but I'll say one more thing with that. At a company gathering, I like to do company gatherings with not just my agents, but with their families. It could be a sister, it could be a friend, it could be a dog, it could be their spouse, it could be kids. They bring them there, and I had a spouse come up to me after their agent had been there, and they were hesitant for their spouse to come because they were getting maybe a higher split elsewhere. And a year and a half later was this picnic, and they came up to me and they said, I just want to say thank you. I said, for what? And they said, I've never seen my spouse. She's been in the business for 20 years. I've never seen her this happy, things flowing. It took time to figure out the systems there, but wow, she's doing so great and she's so happy, and it means the world to our family and our household. And I get the chills talking about it. I'm like, that for me is the why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Sherry and I can both testify to that. That's been our experience. When I first came to Dudum, I had been at a national franchise, and the manager of the office was adequate and fine, but there was always this kind of little disconnect that as an agent, if we needed something, it would go through the manager up to the abyss and usually get denied, because how could they duplicate something through thousands of offices, or even the 5 that were locally owned? And one of the meetings that I first came to, you you were leading the meeting, and there was some product, I can't remember what it was, some advertising tool that you were debating whether it was worth it, and you led this discussion among the agents, and you were advocating for it, but you were like, hey, agents, is this really a tool that's meaningful to you? And overwhelmingly, the agents wanted to do it. And so you said, all right, I'll put my money behind it. And then you followed up with, I've done my part. Now you need to do your part and actually use the tool. And that balance of you having your recent sales experience and substantial sales experience really informs how you support us as agents. And it's like, I'm going to put my dollar behind it, but not just my dollar. I'm going to put my essentially coaching and mentoring. All right, now use this tool, because if you said it's valuable, it must be valuable. You're telling me it is, and it's only valuable if you use it. I like what's the big joke? What's the best CRM? It's the one that you use. It was that same sort of thing. And
So
you know,
true. We all
yeah,
have, every brokerage has their toolbox, and a lot of them have similar tools. And agents will complain, have you used it? No. Well, that might want to start with that.
exactly.
It's hard
Yeah,
for people to take ownership of that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I don't want to say that I miss. I know we talked earlier and you said, what do you love about real estate? I love negotiating. When I said earlier, I'm weird. I like two people who can't see the same. My favorite class in college was emotional intelligence, and this was 25, 30 years ago. I think, it's how you say things that really, and there's word choice, and there's that, why can't people negotiate? Why can't people with the same goal get to a good place? It doesn't always have to be nasty. And
Yeah,
I miss the days, I think that the hot market we've been in created, I don't want to say a lot of lazy agents, but put a sign up, write a high price, let's go. Well, what about working and really selling the product, not just doing a 300,000 remodel, really thinking outside the box? We have to be creative marketing folks, really being the calm and keeping emotions out. I'm really good about being calm within chaos.
mhm,
I probably break down after I walk away and like, oof. But I love the high of the negotiation, not because, ooh, I did that, but because I know I can leave. The art of negotiation is being able to walk away, but the skill's not having to. So I
yeah,
know I can walk away ideally with both parties feeling okay.
yeah,
They might not both feel amazing, they both feel okay, and we get to move forward. And that I think is a lost art. It comes back to talking to people, connecting with people.
yeah. The so our listeners know that Sherry and I both have our broker's license, which means that we could open up a brokerage, but we don't want to, because we watch what you do and it's like we just want to sell. So we have the luxury of being um, equipped to run our own company, but not. But I'm curious, what are some things that you wish you knew before you opened the brokerage, and maybe words of advice or wisdom to other people who might be considering it? Um, and absolutely, Sherry and I are not considering it.
No, go for it. Go for it. You know what I find? I say it to my kids, and now I'm saying it to my agents, but I've said it to my kids a while. It's okay to stand alone if you're standing for what's right.
Mhm,
And it's amazing that in the same industry, there's so many, I hate this expression, but there's so many ways to skin a cat.
mhm,
And if you're doing what's right, and there's very few brokerages that are like-minded, which is, a blessing and a curse. It's nice to have options, but the fundamental essence of what we're doing can look so many different ways. So things that I didn't really realize, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a broker. And I know there's agents who have different approaches, but from a brokerage standpoint, you got to do it this way. No, you really don't. You really don't. And I'm okay, and I'm confident in doing it a different way, as long as it's what I feel from legal and compliance and marketing and best for the agents. I think like an agent, I run it like a broker, but I really take my heart and my thoughts from my agent experience into the decisions of the company. And again, I can name, a few locals. A lot of them are within leading RE that are similar and like-minded, but it's not many. So I guess being okay to find the right, I guess, leading the way, sometimes with the unknown. I think that the agent, I took it personal for many years, even though I just said, you don't have to pack your bags at midnight. Be grateful for your time together if you're leaving, but it's still hard. I can't tell you the number of kids' games and whatever I've missed to go be with someone on a Friday night listing appointment, or walk them through a form, or help them with a negotiation, or do a counter offer, or reword an addendum. And then 2 weeks later, or adjust something for them if they need adjustment. And 2 weeks later, I'm going to go to so-and-so brokerage because they're going to give me 2% higher. Okay, so you made X, and if we average that out, that's going to give you, $1,700 more. And
Yeah.
so I took it personal for so long, and I have to start realizing, and it's kind of only within the last year that I realized, look, I hope you all stay forever, but I want you to do what's best for you. I'm loyal to a fault. I can't expect others to be loyal to a fault. If they have needs and take their journey elsewhere, fine. The one thing that bugs me that I wish I could change is I don't like when people speak out of both sides of their mouth. I say loyal to a fault, integrity to a fault. I'd rather someone just speak truth. Don't tell me, okay, I'm gone and I won't call people, or I'm doing this for this reason, and then it ends up being for another reason. Or you go, don't insult or break other people down. Just lift yourself up. You've got what it takes, and play fair, play nice. I don't like the cutthroat mentality, and I guess it's in any business. But I'm like, why can't we all just get along? but there's an extent of that. I didn't the Thankfully, we don't have a lot who do, but when the fallout happens, I really have to coach myself. Okay, you want what's best for them. And some hurt more than others. The manner in which it happens actually plays a big part. When someone insists on meeting with you to tell you no, and you're canceling things to me, or how just the manner in which it happens plays a big part. And if our door will be open again, to be honest, when they do come back, because many have. But yeah, I want what's best for everyone. So I guess that's kind of one thing. I don't know. Every day is a new journey. What did I not expect? I don't know. That's the main thing, I guess.
Is this what you imagined, the size, 5 offices, 180 agents? Is this what you thought it was going to be?
That's a great question, Sherry. I always said we're still very good friends. One of my close friends, marketing director, Kent Loving, and he's no longer in our marketing, but him and Tracy, our director of operations, part of the OG, made fun of me and even made a bet. Okay, you're not going to open another. You have to pay us X if you do. And because it's a lot of work on my staff, God bless them all. They're amazing, but it is. And all of a sudden, here comes Julie with some crazy idea. Guess what we're doing today? I say this, and why I brought them up is because they'll laugh and say, that's not true. You said 100. I said, I'll get to 100 and I'm good. But then probably for the last, I'll say 7 or 8 years, I say 200 is kind of my number. And give or take 10 people. If I hire a team member and they have 10 people, I'm not going to not hire. So 200 is my number. And that's kind of why behind that, Sherry, is because I do want to know. I want to know your dog's name, your kid's name, your spouse's name, your friend's name. I like to know people on a personal level. And I think it could get beyond that. Have we been asked to be bought out? And have we been, yeah, it's not in my agenda. There's an inside joke. If I could only be financially lucrative to every agent who works for me in a huge way, sure. But it really, to get even larger, it would have to be very unique and for reasons that I can't even imagine, that would keep me still very personal with each person.
Yeah.
I also want it in areas where I really know the demographic. I got asked if I'd open a brokerage in Carmel by one of the number one agents in Carmel at the time. And I just don't know Carmel by the Sea as much. I know a few wonderful areas, but I don't know the ins and outs. I need to be
your first agent down there.
Yeah, there you go. You can go run the office. Like I got 6 of us, let's go. And it was because I did a speaking engagement and talked about systems, and they liked what I was saying. And it was flattering, but I like to stay within my arena of what I know.
Yeah.
So I said no more offices, but there's a couple I'm looking and dabbling, a couple areas, there's a couple of my agents who I've talked about in Clayton or never known Pleasanton. I also, have an agent who La Miranda office, but its address is Lafayette. Should we look at something small in Orinda? But I also don't want to, we have a good thing going. So there's a lot of strategy behind it. Is it what I thought? They'll argue I thought I was going to 100. I argue I thought I'm going to 200. Is it going to be 700, 800, 900, 1,000? That's not in the cards. That's not where I want to go with
I
this.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with the company since, I don't know, maybe 15 agents.
Yeah.
It was fairly small. We were still in that one office and you hadn't broken down any walls to add offices. It was, yeah, a completely different company, but you maintained the principles of what you wanted it to be. which is amazing. I mean, every time I've worked for a lot of different brokerages, I guess 4 maybe, and they all say the same thing. Oh, we're the best. We have this, we have this, we have this. And I go, yeah, yeah. But it's not like it is at Dudum. You can say all that. Do you have great designers? Yeah. Well, they learned Photoshop, some Saturday in a 1-day class, but they're not graphic designers like ours. Do they have staff that says, well, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? Nobody's got that. I have never experienced it. And in fact, so much so that when you had me interview Adam when he was thinking about coming to the company, and he kept
Sorry,
saying,
Adam.
what about the CRM? But what about this? And I kept very flippantly saying, oh, don't worry, you're not going to need it. You're not going to need it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to need it. And honestly, I'm surprised he came to the company because I was so, kind of, oh, don't worry, you're not going to need it. Because I knew that he had potential at Dudum that he wasn't going to get anywhere else. And thank goodness he listened to me.
Yes, thank goodness. And it's been so great watching you blossom, but yeah, I'm cutting him off before he comments on that. But it's true. We don't have everything. There's stuff that I learn every day. I'm not this 100-year-old company. I learn every day. But like Adam said earlier, here's the product. What do I need to change? And some things take longer than others. But yeah, we have an amazing support. And so I really, if we hire people or if we align with people, even vendors or anything, if you're not of like mind, it's uncomfortable and it's obvious. So yes, I'm very flattered and almost not sad, but just so grateful you said that. But yeah, we try to support you in ways. CRMs can come and go, CMAs can come and go. They have to be good. And thank goodness we have the best one we're rolling out now. But ideally the core essence needs to exist, the foundation where the walls fall down. Adam, go for it. I know you're ready to comment on her interview of you.
All right, Jen.
Well, what I'm going to say was I mistakenly thought that tech was what I was looking for, and I wanted a really robust tech. And I was so underwhelmed by what you had at the moment. By the way, we're getting a new one coming in, and it's the best product that you've gotten so far. So I'm very excited about it. But it was absolutely the culture, and like I said earlier, the way that you commanded yourself in the team meeting, the company meeting, that was so much different and refreshing. And I know that if I had something, I can go not just the office manager, but the boss, the owner, who will take me seriously, but also won't just be frivolent. Like, all right, you got to do it. And that was so different from, I remember I don't want to go into details about somebody else, but it was so great to, and it's been everything that I've needed and wanted. And then, partnering with Sherry has been the deciding moment of all of my real estate career about success. And that's a whole nother podcast.
Absolutely.
But you've got
And
this
a great
environment.
one.
And neither one of you, and for probably appropriate reasons, aren't talking about the love connection that the two of you have and the support through some of the darkest journeys. And that doesn't happen in any business. It doesn't happen it rarely happens in any business, but particularly in real estate. And it is absolutely why you are successful, why Dudum as a company is successful, and why we specifically as agents are successful. And we're so grateful. And I feel like we've name checked everybody, but we haven't name checked my favorite Dudum employee, John Sefton, who's our director of compliance and part of Julie's team that she brought when she started, and he's been around the whole time. And I can't, if I'm not going to say, because I don't believe it, that if John left, we would leave, but let's just say that there would be a huge hole for that man.
I'll say it. If John left, I'm gone. I close out. That's what he saved. And follow the ping pong ball in my head. I want to go back. Yes, I respect and love both you and Sherry and all my agents. You are my clients, all my agents so much, but a real special one with Sherry. Not only because we've been through stuff, but it goes back to what you said. You put something out there and you see those who sit on it and those who don't. And I don't know everything. I was in the learning stage when Sherry and I started our early on real estate relationship at another company. And she said, I'm thinking of this and that. And I gave her some unsolicited, well, how about this? How about that? And I've probably done that with 100 people. And, the ones who are like, let me take that to heart. I'm not taking credit for success saying, oh, that's why she's a success. She listened to my words. It shows that's a person who has the understanding, the drive, and realizes it's not about them. there's something bigger and I'm responsible for my actions. And she did it. And for that, I mean, she'd be a success at she is at anything she touches now, but it's because she had the desire and the want to say, where can I refine and how can I make this work? And it really struck me as that's an integrity-based person who I really want to align myself with. So back to what you were saying, John Sefton cannot take away from that. Gosh, sitting there in COVID and everything shut down, and I'm trying to give my agents advice on PED forms and how you show a house, and you can't show a house, and now you can, but if you're a listing agent, you have to follow the buyers around with their agent and wipe the door handles and do the knobs. And I'm in Zooms from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. listening to the rules as they change by the minute. And my family's out playing together and they walk in and I snap at them and I've just been in Zooms trying to keep this up and I can't, and you got to give me a minute. And all of a sudden I called John and I'm like, John, and we love our brain teaser car rides where we just talk about things sometimes on the same, point of view, sometimes intentionally different, just to challenge the brain. And what a brilliant brain. I said, I need you. I need to. And that was the creation of our compliance department. I mean, I was the compliance department before, but I can't keep up with these forms and this and life and getting eventually transactions are beginning again. And I got you. And talk about cool, calm, and collected and a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. He has taken my little vision of compliance beyond the next level. He is such a gift to so many. And yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, we didn't name all the staff, but we easily can because they all contribute to all of our success and all of our joy. That's what's important. But John's really been such a huge asset and such a love for all. I mean, it's not additional love to do what he does.
We have him on speed dial.
Well, there was a while
I
we
smile
were
because you know how many do. It's
yeah.
that.
We were calling him every Monday with questions. All right, I'm going to ask a little bit of a maybe a touchy question. It's not touchy, is not the right word, but a little risky. So between COVID and the complete disintegration of the market this last year, where there's like half the number of transactions from 2 years ago, which hurts all of us, and you as a broker absorb all of that, not just each individual. And now the rule changes. Has there been any time in the last 4 or 5 years that you thought, I just want to go back and be an agent? or I want to go do something completely different? Because nobody would blame you. And I know that there's a risk of, like, the broker said that if they thought about leaving, could cause panic. I know this, but
I'm here now, and that's what people need to see. I'm here now. We learn grit and resilience, all these wonderful things that we try to teach our children and they don't know yet. It's grit and resilience that you do have those feelings. And that's not the end, where the feelings and the thoughts are not where your chapter is done. It's what you do. I do my E, not to sound like a broken record, but my E plus R equals O. So events are going to happen every day. And it's our reaction that will determine the outcome. So sometimes the reaction is like, oh my gosh, is this worth it? But then you remember the time someone came up to you at a company picnic and said, I've never seen my spouse so happy. There are times where I have said, and it wasn't in the midst of COVID. COVID was hard. Like I said, the Zooms were nonstop and you lose who you are. And then there was a time where we were on fire, our market. COVID was actually great, but it was about 1.5 years after COVID. And I was running like a chicken, admittedly so. If you knew me and you thought something was off, it probably was. I was running like a chicken with my head cut off. Good luck having a solid conversation with me for about 1.5 years. And somebody said a comment that stuck with me. I'm running and my soul can't keep up with me. That's what it is. I'm going through every day, and I'm checking boxes, but who am I? And I think Sherry could relate because she was that when she was at her sister's funeral, and she was every day. You got so much accomplished. I had a lot I was doing. Who was I? So now at the start of my to-do list every day, or my list, it doesn't say to do, it says to be. And then it says hashtag to inspire. And so every day I need to think, as I'm going through these motions, who am I and who do I want to be and be known as, remembered by each and every day, to put meaning more into my actions. And so that was a shift. And then when it was low last year, so then it I grabbed a hold of myself, and it took probably another solid year to find my balance again, and worked on myself in so many different ways. And then, numbers were tough, and I'm a giver, and I like to keep people where they are. And I knew that if I say, hey, it's your contract and you have to honor it, and I honor that I pay you this split, but if you don't hit those numbers, it's a dual agreement. It's not unilateral.
Yep.
So I need you to hit those numbers to sustain. And if you don't, I never roll you back because I like to keep people incentivized and I make the numbers work. And truthfully, people don't know this when they're like, oh, she got a new car. Oh, I sell here and there. And everything that I sell goes back into the company. I pay myself per quarter a certain amount, but I sell and it goes back to the company. So to keep staff, to keep lights on when we weren't selling was the years of selling going into the company of my own, which no complaints. It's my name on the door. It should.
Yeah.
But there was a time last year saying, could I sell on my own or could I do something? Is this really worth it? And so I went, like you said, Adam, and said, okay, agents, we all have a responsibility. I'm sustaining and we're okay. We're good. But I have to hold you accountable to the contract you signed that I've never you didn't complain when I kept you up when you didn't make it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put you where you earned and it's uncomfortable and I risk you leaving and I hope you won't. And we did. We lost a handful, more than I've ever lost in 10, 12 years was in that 1 year when I rolled people back. And majority of the people who left were people who maybe made under 60 grand a year. They're equally as important humans, but to the bottom dollar, it was like, you're leaving for the wrong reason, but go for it. So they had to be able to be responsible for their reaction to the event, determine the outcome. And
Yeah.
if they didn't like the outcome, yeah, we did have a little bit of a leave more than I was comfortable with. And I said, really, is this worth it? Over $1,700? Really? Is this what I want to do? And I, with resilience and grit, said, this isn't my end of my chapter. So here we are on September 3rd, at whatever date this is being recorded for you, but
Yeah.
here we are in September 2024.
Just so you know, Julie,
moving forward.
that did not go unnoticed by us last year. We were watching you deal with that and we kept saying, how is she maintaining the staff? How is she, keeping the lights on? How is she doing so well and making it seem so easy? Well, we all know that business has changed from 2021 and 2022 when it was absolutely bonkers out there.
2020 and 2019 and it was in my 15 years in business and 25 years in the industry, it was the lowest year I've ever seen. And that's with me seeing 160 people doing it with me.
Yeah.
And we could have at least sustained a little more. It was the lowest, it was the unthinkable. But everybody gave, and I explained that I'm giving. The staff gave, they took a little hit. Everybody, I could have said, fine, we're moving that person off the books and everyone will sustain. But I was looking at sustainability for the whole company and everyone had to give to make it work. It was that probably was the hardest part. Yeah, I'm going to answer your question, this whole journey, because I like everyone to rise.
Yeah.
Everybody kept their jobs and it was like nothing had changed in terms of how you took care of us.
Yeah, I was sick to my stomach to have those conversations and
Yeah. Well,
Tracy and
the one of the illustrations that I use, metaphors that I use it during COVID and then use it this year, and I think you just described it perfectly. It's like a running back who is going through the line of scrimmage and the defensive player gets a hand on him, and that running back's got a decision to make. Do I just let him grab me and push me down, or do I find a way to push through? And there's a stat, yards after contact, and the COVID was contact, the going down in the number of transactions, even though you're doing the same quality work, there's just not industry wise enough to keep that up, as another point of contact. And this year, the changes in how we get paid, we're still going to get paid, we're still going to give superior service, but it changes. And the agents and the brokers who decide I'm going to keep my feet moving and push forward are the ones that are going to be successful. It's indicative of how you work for your clients, but it also is how you're working for yourself to keep pushing. So, Julie,
I decided that the day we opened a brokerage, the day our door opened, I decided there's a commitment and we will push through. Yards after. I love that.
This has been fantastic. I bet we could go for another 45 minutes if we want.
I'm sorry. I know they're normally 20
you
minutes.
don't have to apologize. This has been fantastic. Not a dull moment. But we are going to transition into our speed round, and Sherry's going to ask you a bunch of questions. And
we're really gonna do it still. Okay.
Of course, we're not going to miss this. I want to hear Julie's answers.
All right, Julie, you said this was the hard part. We know how difficult it is for you to have word answers, but we're going to put you to the test here.
Okay.
Okay. This old house or Property Brothers?
what is the property, meaning like, do I rather buy a house or buy dirt?
What
Do you not know these TV shows, This Old House?
There we go. See, I live under a rock.
Never mind.
No, not that one. Go for the next one. Ted
Oh.
Lasso. Ted Lasso.
well,
Always
perfect
do
answer. Yeah,
at least a sports analogy that I can relate to. I'm surprised Adam and I are partners because he uses these football analogies, and it's like the time you gave me the Peyton Manning Award, and I was like, "Who's Peyton Manning?" Anyway, back to the speed round. Home Depot or Lowe's?
Home Depot.
Granite or quartz?
Shifted over the years. I'm okay with quartz now.
Yeah, or maybe even marble. Maybe that should be one of the
Yeah,
questions.
Calcutta.
Yes, Martha Stewart or Chip and Joanna Gaines?
Just don't know enough about either. What's the lady's name?
So do you like New England or urban farmhouse?
No, I know what's, and I know this is the speed round. Look how fast it is. What's the one who's the chef, the dark hair?
Chef?
I know you're not saying it will come to me. Yes, because she tells you Ina Garten.
Oh, yes.
My answer to that.
My question is Martha Stewart or Chip and Joanna Gaines, and
I say Ina Garten.
Ina Garten. Actually, that would be my answer too. I love it.
Chaos, total chaos.
I did it exactly as I intended. I'm looking for it on my desk. I have a thing on my desk and it shows the box, and then it shows a person floating outside and they're like here. And it's sitting outside the box. So I kind of, this is
Cats and dogs living together. All right, let's see if we can get any farther.
yeah, let's see. This is good.
All right. I think I've run. Okay, what three things are always in your trunk? We'll finish it up with that.
A pickleball paddle,
Oh, pickleball.
huge.
You
A
got it.
blanket. I'm always cold. A chair to watch my kids' games, or water if it's not summer and it will go bad. So, but
So that's
we'll
four.
say, yeah,
That works.
pickleball paddle, and a blanket for sure.
All right.
You know,
Well,
thank you for giving us a place where we can grow. You know, Adam and I are about to start mentoring other agents, and I keep telling him, you can't make somebody be successful. They've got to want to be successful. And you've always given us a place where we can do that if we want to.
Well, you do it well. It's an honor to work with you both, and I can't tell you how grateful I am for you in the company, but also in my life, and for today. This was fun.
Thank
yeah,
you.
we had a fun time too. If you like the real story with Adam and Sherry, be sure to like and subscribe and recommend it to your friends. This is a special episode, so you might want to actually share this particular episode, not just our whole podcast. Thanks everybody. Julie, we'll see you at the office meeting tomorrow, and everybody else, we will see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.